Good morning, friends, and welcome back. I am going to show you how to take one of these canvas bags, and I got this at a dollar store. I actually spilled a little paint on there. I'm not worried about it because of what we're going to do to it. And I turned it into this. So don't be intimidated, but we are going to do a transfer, and just a couple of things I want to mention. I got this on the Graphics Fairy at the site called the Graphics Fairy. You can go over there and print out several things that are copyright free. The site is free. There's a pay section on the site too, but for our purposes, I wanted to, you can look up French typography, and I printed it in reverse. Now this is very important. I have a laser printer, which means this ink will not run or bleed. If you have an inkjet printer, this is going to bleed, it's going to run, and it won't work for this purpose. If you're not sure if you have an inkjet printer, drip a little bit of water on your print, and after you drip the water on it, just give it a minute and then rub it a little bit. If it smears or blurs at all, if any of the ink moves at all, you've got an inkjet printer. And all you need to do then is just take the copy to your copy center and make a couple of copies so you have spares. Just go to the black and white machine and make a couple of copies, because the copy stores all have laser printers. And you want to make sure it's in reverse, because when we transfer it, we're going to flip it, and then all the letters will come through. And it's really easy, so I hope you're not intimidated by that. And then we'll do some decoupage, but first we're going to start out with some chalk paint. But what I'm going to do first is, this is an empty box, and I'm just going to cut the two flaps out because I want to put them inside of the canvas bag with a little plastic over them. That's going to protect the other side of your bag. So this is water, and the first thing we want to do, because we're using chalk paint, and I'm using the Americana Decor Chalky Finish in the color called Everlasting, which is their white. And you want to wet the fabric first. If you don't have one of these chalk paint brushes, you can use a regular chip brush, but you want to wet your whole surface first. And a good thing about these brushes is, because they're bristle brushes, they get down into the fabric. And you want to do this over the whole surface. So I'm going to wet this whole surface. And now that the whole surface is wet, I'm going to pour a little bit of my chalk paint onto my tray. And I'm also going to mix it with the water. Then I'm going to come back in and paint that canvas. I'll see if I can find some listings for these canvas bags for you to purchase, and I will include them with the links down below. And so you know, I have done these bags in the past several times, and I always use the triple thick glaze over the top of them. They last forever, but I tend to use this more for dry goods. Breads, the eggs, things like that. I won't put chicken or any of the meats in here. So now I'm going to put this aside to dry, and then we'll come right back and do our fun transfer. So guys, guess what I did? I took that outside to dry, and in typical style for me, I said, oh, look at that hydrangea over there in the shade. It doesn't look like it's doing too well. Let me dig that up and repot it. Meanwhile, I left my brush in here without cleaning it because I'm a member of the short attention span theater. So I got this stuff called Deco Art Brush and Stencil Cleaner. And then I read about this that said even with stuck on paint it works. So even though it comes out really liquidy, I started to use this because occasionally I forget about my brushes and leave them out. So you can see how it gets nice and frothy. I was outside for at least a half an hour. And hopefully that canvas bag is dry now. But I did want to show you that this brush and stencil cleaner is pretty amazing. I think it moisturizes the brushes just a tiny bit, enough so that they don't wear out, and all of that paint came off. So no more dishwashing detergent for me. I'll be using this cleaner. And I just thought I'd pass that along to you. It is better to use a brush cleaner that's made specifically for this purpose. Okay, let me go get that canvas bag now. Hope I don't see anything else that needs repotting out. Okay, so the bag is dry. And I went out into the car, in the trunk, where I keep the grocery bags to show you. This is a canvas bag that I did a couple of years ago. Decoupage, I did a little stencil on here, chalk paint, and look how well this has held up. Every once in a while I take a damp cloth and I wipe it off if it gets any stains or anything on there. So now let's do the transfer. I'm keeping this bag turned this way. You can see it a lot easier this way than if I do it the other way. I'm going to center this, place it flat down. Now, a trick with transfers that some people may not know is you have a lot more success when you use matte medium. And I'm using the DecoArt matte medium gel. Best to tear those hard edges out. Now, I'm going to apply this gel medium over the transfer. And I focused mostly on where the ink is because that's what we want to transfer, but it's okay to get it on the paper in between. Ideally, we are going to remove all of that paper. So let's center this, flip it over, put our brush down. I want a very flat surface here. Now, I'm going to rinse this brush off right away because you should, and I'm going to remove all of the matte medium from the brush. Now the brush is clean and it's wet, and what I'm going to do, and this is just something that I think helps with the transfer, I'm going to wet the paper pretty much just over where I can see the ink. You'll be able to see it in person. I don't know if you can see it before I add the water. Like now you can see it really clearly, right? So what I'm doing is going over this area that I want to transfer with water to make sure that this part of the paper really sticks to this canvas. So the water causes the paper and the ink and the matte gel to really adhere to the canvas, a nice flat, surface. Okay, so I'll put this aside to dry again. A lot of drying time with this project, but it's worth it. These bags look so pretty. So here we go. We'll put this outside. I'm going to put this outside again, and then I'll come back and remove this. Okay, this is dry now. And again, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to wet the whole piece of paper. You can see how the transfer is coming through that wet paper. Now I'm going to start to rub away the paper. I'm not going to make you watch me rub away this whole thing. So what I'll do is just start on a small section, and you can see, close up on that, how the paper is peeling away. Now you want to be careful. If you go too heavily with your finger, you could pull up some of the transfer, but you do want to get this layer of paper off. So I'm going to remove all of this, and it takes a little time. So I took away most of the paper, and over here I got a little overzealous, pressed too hard, and I pulled away some of the transfer, but because this is black, I'm going to take a permanent magic marker, a fine line, and I'll fill that in, but I'm going to do it when this is dry. I don't want anything to bleed or run right now. Now I just removed that first layer of paper. It looks pretty good. There's still another layer on there. I'm going to let it dry a little more, or dry again, and then remove this second layer of paper, and that's when the rest of this paper will all come away too. And now it's dry again. I'm going to add some more water and start to peel away, not peel away, but I will rub away that little bit of paper that's left. So last night, once everything was all dry and I had peeled away all of the paper, I added a coat of decoupage glue over the whole surface and I let it dry overnight. Now, if you've got a heavy hand like I do, you can apply that decoupage glue in one coat, just very thick, and make sure you use a bristle brush. Now that it is totally dry, you want to take the plastic out of the inside, and we're going to iron our napkin on here. So you're going to need your iron, no steam, and you want to put it on the highest temperature setting. So I have this set to linen. Just make sure, again, there's no steam in here. And you definitely want to use parchment paper over this so that you don't burn anything. So I'm going to separate the napkin. Because these napkins are so sheer, you'll be able to see the transfer through there. Now, if you're just beginning, you may want to skip the transfer and just do this part alone. You don't have to cut the napkin. All you have to do is place it in the center. Place your parchment paper down over it and iron it onto this canvas. Make sure you get to the ends. Make sure you cover every surface of this napkin. Make sure you cover the whole thing. In other words, if you're going too quickly, or if you're not paying attention, or you're just ironing like you do a shirt, you could miss spots, and we don't want that. So it's okay to take your time. The parchment paper prevents the napkin from burning. I believe what this is doing is it is re-melting the decoupage glue underneath, which is why you want to make sure you have a very heavy coat down there before you do this part. So this napkin is very carefully and smoothly ironed on. And in this step, I'm just going to apply another coat of decoupage glue carefully over my surface, and I'm using the DecoArt napkin decoupage glue. You always, want to be careful when you're working with napkins. This decoupage glue is it gives a nice coverage, and it's gentle enough. There are a couple of other products on the market that are a little too creamy and thick and heavy, and they can tear your napkins. So you always want to be careful. Okay, so apply this softly. I'm going to cover the whole surface with my napkin decoupage glue. Make sure you get those ends. We're going to let this dry now, and then we're going to put our top coat on it, and we'll be all done. I have brought this in from the outside. It was in the summer sun, drying pretty quickly, and I'm going to use a top coat over this. And you have to use a bristle brush when applying triple thick. So just make sure you add as much as you need. Work on one section at a time, and then quickly move on to the next section. Again, making sure you get all of these edges. It's just a little more insurance that this will never pull away. Sorry guys, I got a phone call that I had to take while I was filming that. So you saw that I put the triple thick on while it was wet. I added some glitter. I just have a thing for this glitter. I'm going to let this dry, and I will show you how this looks out in the sunlight as soon as it dries. All right guys, there is our completed grocery bag. The sun's going in and out, so it's a little hard to see the glitter. But the glitter is stuck to that dried triple thick. But that is how our, what was a plain canvas bag, now looks since I have decoupaged it and put a transfer on there. And you can see how the transfer came through. Nice little grocery bag, right guys? Okay, my friends, don't forget Upcycle with Decoupage is on Facebook. If you go over and like and follow the page, You'll be notified every week when I put a new video out. And thank you so much for sharing my videos on Pinterest, your Facebook page, Twitter. I will see you guys next week with another video. Happy 4th of July here in the United States. And welcome to all other countries. It's nice to have you here. So see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.